what are you aiming for? What's the differentiator? How are you positioning in the market?
So really where we're focusing on is like, how do we take this problem of tokenization, bringing assets on chain, and be really, really, really freaking good at it, leverage our connections, our network, our distribution capabilities, build distribution pipelines, have licensed secondary market venues under our operations, under our control. Really with the launch of our mainnet last week, we are officially a layer 1 blockchain for real world assets. We went from literally 1.7 cents in October of last year to we hit all-time high this month of $1.60. So we just announced the launch of the mainnet, obviously, and that was really exciting. Earlier this week, we announced our partnership with Google Cloud. That's becoming a validator on the network, and is also going to be doing an RWA accelerator in conjunction with us, which is super exciting. Today, we'll be announcing in a few hours that we're tokenizing this BlackRock fund in conjunction with our partner Libre.
We are in Dubai with Crypto New Z and in collaboration with Global Blockchain Show taking place here in Dubai in December. And today I'm with John from Mantra. So let's start from the beginning. Tell me about Mantra.
Yeah, so Mantra currently is a real world asset layer 1 blockchain. We've been around for actually 4 years. So we've kind of gone through a number of different evolutions of the business. We initially launched as a DeFi protocol on Polkadot, or that was the idea.
Okay.
And over the years, we've seen a number of different trends, and we've kind of been adjusting and kind of playing to our strengths. And really with the launch of our mainnet last week, we are officially a layer 1 blockchain for real world assets.
From last week.
Technically, when we were in permissionless in Utah, we actually launched it kind of in stealth then, but we announced it to the public just last week.
Right. And how's it been, this process of morphing into something much bigger?
A lot of ups and downs, to be honest. Building in crypto is never easy. Building through multiple cycles is challenging. But it's been a really exciting journey for us, and this year particularly it's just been insane growth, insane opportunity, and a lot of the work I think that we put in over the last year and a half, 2 years, when we weren't getting any traction or we weren't getting any reception, is really what made us what we're today. So that building to the bear mentality I think was a big differentiator for us now, and then it allowed us to be kind of in the right place at the right time with the right capital and the right people coming together to capture this new narrative that people were actually talking about. But we had been doing real world assets and tokenization for some time, but now fortunately we've kind of been able to cement ourselves as one of the leading players.
What triggered you to make this decision to change?
Well, honestly, it's just I feel like it's always just been an evolution of my life. And if you even take back to the initial onset of when I first got into crypto full time, I was working at a bank in Shanghai. I quit my job, moved down to Hong Kong, was working on a centralized exchange platform that really wanted to do, all different types of asset classes under the sun, trading in one venue back in 2017, 2018. And like now that's kind of come through different iterations. We've done stuff in DeFi. We've done regulated things in the United States. We're doing things here in the UAE. And we've just built a blockchain. Like it's just been an evolution of trying, failing, iterating, trying again. And then, now we've kind of finally hit that mark where we're seeing significant traction, significant product market fit. But really for us, or at least for me personally, it's been a crazy, crazy year, but like we just launched the chain, right? Like the best is still to come. The real work is just getting started. So, Mantra is about 4.5 years old now, maybe even, approaching 5. And, we still have, another 5, 10, 15, 20 years to go. I mean, it's just the tip of the iceberg. Yeah.
Well, what are you aiming for? What's the differentiator? How are you positioning in the market?
Initially, and probably a lot of the time this year, we were really trying to be differentiated at a real world asset level or RWA level. Mm-hmm. And now with the launch of the blockchain, in mainnet, it's really we've gone from RWA to L1, legitimately. And from an L1 perspective that also does RWAs as our key focus, we're not trying to necessarily be like the technology innovator that's like doing some sort of ZK or something like, different and better, but, it's not changing the game from a distribution, a go-to-market, or even an end user perspective that much, in my opinion. So really where we're focusing on is like, how do we take this problem of tokenization, bringing assets on chain, and be really, really, really freaking good at it. Leverage our connections, our network, our distribution capabilities, build distribution pipelines, have licensed secondary market venues under our operations, under our control, and really build that trust that Mantra is the place or the home of RWAs and the place where you want to issue your RWAs because it just makes sense. We're doing it from the safest, easiest, and most compliant way for you to issue RWAs on chain, and then having this kind of like on-chain permissionless ecosystem that you can go and do all different types of stuff with. So that's kind of the key differentiator that we want to focus on. Building that trust, building that credibility in the market. I say this a lot, like projects that are issuing hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars of assets on chain. The reason that they pick Mantra over Solana, Ethereum, other layer ones, particularly in the region, because we have very deep connections here, is they know us, they trust us, and they can literally call me if something goes wrong. And you're not calling Vitalik if you issue a real asset on Ethereum and something goes wrong. But you can call me.
Yeah. It's really good. I mean, accessibility.
100%.
I guess like if it scales, that becomes a little bit harder.
Sure.
But it is good to do the unscalable for sure.
Paul Graham. Do things that don't scale, and that's how you get successful in your business. But, in the end of the day, right, like this is a burgeoning industry, and I don't expect it forever to be, listen, I'm a fairly accessible person. Like 4.5 years into the project, I'm still in the Telegram and on Twitter every day talking to the community because I love it. And I don't think that's ever going to change, honestly.
I think that is a key thing that I've been seeing. Like some of the projects that are doing really well, they have this and other stuff. But like this is one key component of like people aren't having like this ego of like, because in crypto it's different. Like I get it that in like Web2, like you're too busy to be on your phone and talking with the users, whatever. But like in crypto, it seems to me that this is a core, like a much needed thing to, in every company, like
sure,
not just, like an L1.
Sure.
I
agree.
How do you make these decisions? So like, as you try, obviously like this is a big idea, like building an L1. How do you design, like how you're going to grow it? Like how you're going to attract projects to it? Like what's your game plan here?
Good question. I mean, in the end of the day, I think the game plan for me is all about people, right? And it's all about people on a few different levels. And I think you touched on that, like, it's important to be talking to your community. And I kind of have always had the idea that like, why not? And who am I to be like elite or above you just because I'm the project founder? I like it. I enjoy interacting. It's a good way to get information. It's a good way to get feedback. Yeah. And it's frankly, it gives me energy. So like, why should I not do it? So, creating that community sentiment that is strong. I think creating a culture within the organization, which is really, really critical. I always say, the team over the tech. So putting people around me and part of the team who are aligned with the vision, who are, incredibly skilled at their job and, honestly can make a lot of the things that I am talking about happen. Yeah. So, it's not just me, right? It is the team in the end of the day who's, doing all these things and putting a lot of this stuff together. And I think also from a culture perspective, because I think so much about culture in the business and the community, but also in our ecosystem. And I think it's really, really important from an L1 perspective, different than just an app which has your community and your user base, but an ecosystem to have a really, really strong culture of people who are winning, having fun together, building cool shit, trying things out, experimenting, giving each other feedback, and having a different culture than just like, hey, we're doing something really technically innovative, and if you're not believing exactly the way that I do it, then you suck and you should go away. Like we want to have this inclusive. I think there's a lot of projects who've done a great job of that, and we want to be part of that. Solana is actually a great example. The difference between Token 2049 conference and Solana Breakpoint. People are having fun and people are having a good time in the Solana ecosystem. We want to emulate that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, from my perspective, I can imagine how hard it is to come out with an L1 because the industry itself, as it puts itself out in the world, is met with skepticism.
Yep.
And within the industry, whoever hasn't been around or has like a good storytelling behind is also met with skepticism from the industry itself. It's almost like you need to prove yourself in some way, and it's challenging because it's already hard as it is. And I guess like having conviction and sticking to it despite how the feedback you get, it might be like a really good advice just in general, despite being it's easier said than done.
Sure.
But there's probably other things around it. I imagine like maybe you've experienced some stuff. Do you have any advice for anyone going through that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have had our ups and downs within Mantra. I mean, it's an older project, and sometimes you're not going to get the hype or the attention that other newer, shinier objects might have for a fleeting moment, and it can be really challenging to not get distracted by that and not be focused or have conviction in what you're doing, particularly when we're live. We've been live with a token for a long time. You could be working on the most amazing shit, and the market is not pricing you as if you're working on amazing stuff, right?
I know, yeah.
Right, and it can be completely out of your control, and that in and of itself, like having a token, being effectively public, can be a great incentive, but it also can be very demoralizing to your team and to the community, because the market is what it is, and you're always seeing the price. It's 24/7. It never turns off, right?
Yeah.
So keeping the conviction of what you're building, even when we went from literally 1.7 cents in October of last year to we hit all-time high this month of $1.60. So in a year, all-time low to all-time high. And actually, we've done all-time high like 4 or 5 times this year, which has been crazy. And that kind of conviction of just keep going, keep going, keep building, keep trying. I feel like you don't fail until you stop. And that's probably just like this delusional nature I have to always find a way to make it happen. Or just finding like whatever shred of potential belief that this is going to work and we're going to figure it out is, I think, one of the better character traits that I have as a founder. But finding that delusion within yourself, finding that ability to keep going even when it doesn't look like it's going to work, is really, really important. You got to have that persistence, that conviction, because you never know when you're like that close to something just breaking through. Mm-hmm. And, take our story as an example there. Again, from all-time low, basically dead project, top 800, outside the top 800 to, whatever we're trading. I think that was literally like I think our lowest low was like 15 or 17 million market cap, like crazy. Okay. Today we're, 2.6 bill FDV in a year. And on the upswing, right? Like the best is still definitely ahead of us. Not financial advice, to your own research, not shilling the token. I'm just saying, like, we are just getting started.
You're obviously biased here. Everyone understands.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm forever long myself. I'm forever long Mantra, and I'm all in, right? And I think the community, our team, and our investors and supporters know that.
Yeah, it must be hard to build while you're public. Like, I can't get through that one. Like, just imagining someone, like, because you could have, like, a really good day in terms of, like, say, development. And obviously, like, the public doesn't know.
Yeah.
And the market doesn't know.
Yep.
People are just doing their thing. How does this begin to influence culture and the dynamic with your team?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it definitely does, right? It has a significant impact. I remember probably in the summer of this year, we had this big rally. We just broke an all-time high again, maybe for the second time. And then we were trading at, 60 or 50 cents or something. It had a little bit of a dip coming down. And, people were demoralized because we'd like launched something and it didn't go that well. No one even knew. And that's the thing. Like, you launch something and if it doesn't go well, you just relaunch it because no one knew about it the first time.
Yeah.
And I used it. I think I had an expression of the chart. We had an all-team meeting. And I put up a picture of the chart and I said something like, when in doubt, zoom out. Like, look at where we were literally all of 2023, all of last year, compared to where we're at now. It's miles different. We're on a totally different, upswing and trend. And, we still have the best ahead of us. So, when in doubt, zoom out, focus on the things that are in your control. I'm very stoic.
Yeah.
So focus on the things that are in your control and don't stress about the things that aren't as much as possible. Mm-hmm. And, what's in your control, do what you can do to make it as best as possible. And good things will happen over time, right? It's like that almost like 1% better every day mentality kind of thing. Yeah. And if you can continually reinforce this message, communicate this message, over time, the team will start to get it. And that's where you develop culture. It's not like one-time thing to the upside. Like, there is this idea that like good news travels slow, bad news travels real fast, right? So you have to continually communicate the good things, continue to communicate the vision, continue to communicate the strategy and all the things that we should be working on, and try to mitigate as much as possible the bad things, which can be culture, killers.
Yeah. Do you think that, like, for example, if you compare like Web 2 to Web 3 really quickly, because we have more data from like building Web 2 companies.
Yep.
Say like for a traditional startup, you come to your team, you pull this chart and you motivate them. This is like founder's vision, right?
Yep.
I wonder if like, and maybe you've done this as well, in Web3, because community has this sense of like ownership.
Yep.
They literally own.
Yeah.
If that is important to open up the walls and like make that a bigger room where the community also gets that founder,
Yes.
and communicate with them as if they're part of the team.
Sure.
To sort of like, also to avoid like this pump and dump
Sure.
dynamic that we see, like, everyone that launches a token will
Yeah,
go
yeah.
through that now. But I wonder like if that's going to change, and if part of like how that changes is related to making the community feel that they are actually part of the team. So it builds like a sense of guilt, like if they just,
Yeah, I mean, I would say I don't think we're trying to build a sense of guilt in the community to hold, but obviously like that idea of like diamond handsing is important. For us, I am very, very public as a founder. I'm very, very active on socials, on Twitter, on Telegram. I'm very active communicating with the community regularly, and I think they feel that, right? And one thing that I'm very conscientious of and very intentional about is sharing my authentic self. I'm unapologetically John. I'm unapologetically me all the time.
Yeah.
Which people get, and they feel that I'm genuine, and they feel that it's coming off, in a true way. And that's just who I am. Honestly, it's just who I am. We had this experience where, I watch these like documentary things on YouTube and like these vlog thingies, and I tried to do that within the company, and then I found out that it was actually very challenging to unveil the under workings of what's going on in a crypto company, mainly because of security issues.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, because like you don't really want to show some of the things that are super sensitive, like some of the like there's a fine line between transparency, which I think can be achieved if you're very public and communicating and active and talking about what's going on, versus like putting the company and the users at risk.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there are bad people in the space, honestly. I mean, in general, there's bad people in the world.
Yeah.
My parents used to say, 9 out of 10 people are good people, but it's the one guy you gotta watch out for.
Convert them
You gotta watch
into
out
the
for.
good side.
Yeah.
How do you, and speaking of converting, how do you onboard like new people? Like, are you focused on bringing in new people to the industry? Yeah. How, what's your approach there?
100%. So we think of it both at a kind of institutional or high net worth level, and then also at a retail level.
Yeah.
And I think the retail level is more about like how do we onboard existing, users in the crypto space who are already natively on chain, already doing things, to this newer type of product or asset class of RWAs. So how do we create as frictionless as possible experience to go from like crypto native DeFi to real world asset?
Yeah.
That includes like just making the on-chain user experience better. That's not only what we're focusing on. I mean, there's a ton of projects that are trying to do this as well.
Yeah.
But like working towards that Web 2 front end, Web 3 back end model, where you abstract away the like crypto native complexity that we currently still have. That's something that's super important, but that will 100% take time.
Yeah.
But it's making progress. On the flip side, dealing with high net worth institutional investors who may have never participated in this space before. Legitimately, we have people who are buying tokenized real world assets with us in the primary market who have never done anything on chain before in their life. And we have to literally do things that don't scale, walk them through it, teach them how to set up a wallet, teach them how to stake, do all these things white glove, because these are significant people, significant investors. But this is actually bringing on literally net new capital into the space. And one of the things that we feel that is unique about what we're doing with RWAs is that these people, which are net new capital, have already been kind of investing into many of these different asset classes already. What we want to provide is a more liquid, more transparent, more broad array of offerings and products that you can interact with, But at the same time, whenever you take profit within the ecosystem, don't take it out and put it in your bank. Put it right back into things you'd be buying with that money if you took it out of the ecosystem in the first place. Put it back into a private credit fund. Put it back into real estate. Put it back into these other things that then end up as on-chain TVL within the ecosystem. So it never leaves. So instead of having like parasitic farm and dump and go to the next layer 2 or other ecosystem that has no staying power, no stickiness, we want to create that stickiness with the products and with the the end ecosystem being more composable with the things that you can do with it, like being able to collateralize an on-chain tokenized piece of real estate to get a loan against your house, or fractional loan, right? Like these are all things that we're working on literally now that will just make the on-chain experience better than the real world.
Mm-hmm. So usually towards the end, I ask people if there's anything exciting coming up. You obviously it just happened,
yeah.
But I imagine there's more coming.
Sure.
Is there anything lined up?
Yeah, so we just announced the launch of the mainnet. Obviously, that was really exciting. Earlier this week, we announced our partnership with Google Cloud. That's becoming a validator on the network, and is also going to be doing an RWA accelerator in conjunction with us, which is super exciting. Today, we'll be announcing in a few hours that we're tokenizing this BlackRock fund in conjunction with our partner Libre. So that's pretty exciting. So we've had this idea about Ometober, which was mainnet launch and all these different things that were happening, making it a really big month. And October's been an insane month for us, honestly. It's been crazy. But I think we're moving on to November next.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to continue. It's not just Ometober or November, whatever. It's really this is the new chapter for Mantra. The mainnet is here, and it's the foundation for everything that we're doing going forward. And if you think that what we've done this year is exciting, which honestly has been pretty insane, if I do say so myself. I'm huge, I'm even a little bit proud of myself, and I never ever would say that. Next year is going to be even better, and then what's to come is even better, 100%.
This is truly exciting. For everyone watching, where can they find you? You can speak here.
Yeah, so you can hit me up on TG. Honestly, I tell people to you want to call me, by all means, my Telegram is at JP Mullin, Mullin. Hit me up. But
you want them to call you?
Maybe not call me. Text me first, then we can try to schedule a time. Or if you just want to follow along in the meantime, Twitter, I'm very accessible. JP_Mullin, Mullin 888.
John, thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.